Friday in Tuscaloosa was the biggest day so far for Kalen DeBoer and his staff recruiting. 70 different blue chip recruits showed up to watch practice and see how Alabama gets it done. Talking about Alabama, Nick Sheridan had comments about his quarterback, Jalen Milroe. Seems like there's a lot of respect growing between those two guys, and there's a big battle talking about brewing between a couple guys for that starting center job. And that's a good thing after the way that things went last year for Alabama snapping the football. We're going to talk about all that right here on the Bama Tailgate YouTube channel. Like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up, and let's get this thing going. Roll Tide, everybody. What do you say, everybody, with big, sexy Elmo? Yeah, you know him, Brett Elmore, the host of the morning show, the Brett Elmore Show on WJLX. I'm Mick Gillispie, talking football. You're also the sports director for WJLX Sports.
Yes, I'm also the janitor and everything else at WJLX.
Anything that they need you to do, you're ready to do that.
Right.
All right. Well,
how's things going with you? You're on your trip. You look like you're in a fine establishment.
Well, but I think by the time you see me tomorrow, right now I'm in the beautiful Sheridan Wrigleyville, right next to Sloan Park, where the Cubs practice. So double duty right now as we talk baseball and football at the same time, just not on the same channel.
Right. Yeah.
So you get that. But look, let's talk football right now because it's always football season in Tuscaloosa. And one of the big questions that a lot of the people had when Alabama hired a guy from Washington, they said Kalen DeBoer is not going to be able to recruit. Yeah. Okay. 70 recruits showed up to practice on Friday. Guy's doing something right.
70. That's a lot. Coming to practice on a rainy, dreary Friday in Tuscaloosa. Yeah, it was a big day for DeBoer and his staff. And, man, you look down the list and you see kids from all over the country coming in. And, man, it's so exciting.
Well, let's talk about some of those guys. I mean, we can't hit 70 right now, but I want to start with a guy that I hope Alabama gets back, and that's Zion Grady, right? From Enterprise High School in Alabama. Our friend Jimmy Carroll, who was on the Elephant in the Room podcast with Jake Coker and I from Enterprise, right? And he won 2 national championships back in the 60s, 64 and 65 with Alabama. Grady was committed to Alabama, and then he was one of those guys that when Nick Saban retired, he decommitted, right? And part of that was that Alabama changed its entire defensive staff. You know, he was recruited by guys like Kevin Steele, who also retired, by the way, but also Robert Bala and Coleman Hutzler, and then Hutzler, and then now he's had to, basically build relationships with this new coaching staff. And, Alabama's put an emphasis on trying to get him back. He's one of the best players in the state and a guy that they'd love to have.
Yeah, it's all about building those relationships or establishing them, so for this new staff. And he did decommit, but it's a good sign to see him back on campus and checking out practice. And I think once he sees what's going on in Tuscaloosa, his heart may come back as well.
Yep. Antonio Coleman, 4-star, Saraland, just committed to Alabama. He committed to Alabama, decommitted, went to Auburn, flipped back to Alabama, but he was in there as well on Saturday. Another Alabama target that was there to keep an eye on, Anquan Fagans from Thompson High School. This is a school that Kalen DeBoer needs to be able to lock down, and it was even tough for Saban there. Yeah. But he's gotten a lot of help with recruiting that school and including Fagans with Freddie Roach. They seem to have a good connection. Kane Womack obviously was in the state down at South Alabama. And then safeties coach Colin Hitzler, who's one of the best, man. I mean, you're talking about an in-state recruit who could make such a difference in that Alabama secondary. And you go, hey, man, I coached Sauce Gardner and Kobe Bryant in Cincinnati. I mean, it's probably the best Cincinnati's going to be in our lifetime, right? And he was there for that. So he's got 3 summer official visits already lined up with other schools. And Auburn seems to be where Fagans is probably going to end up, or at least if he picked today. But there's a lot of time and a long way to go. And it's great to have him on campus so he can see what's going on.
Yes, it is, and you're right about the recruiting. Another guy that visited campus was London Merritt. He's a defensive lineman, 6'2", 250 out of the IMG Academy down in Florida. Of course, a lot of people are familiar with IMG. He transferred over there for his senior season, but last year he played football in Georgia at Woodward Academy and kind of helped lead them to the 6A state title game. And so this is the guy that is, a lot of the so-called experts say that he's leaning toward Ohio State, but it was nice to see him on campus. He's another 4-star athlete of the class of 2025. Also, Javian Hilson. Hilson is an edge guy, 6'3", 225 from Cocoa, Florida. And really, we don't know where he's leaning or whatever. He's been to Florida State. He's been, to Texas, and he's been to Florida State a couple times. But he's an intriguing prospect, and he's sought after by several different schools. Now he is committed to Florida State. I forgot. So that's one that they're going to look to try to flip. And then you have Noah McHale out of California. And we've talked about that California pipeline that Alabama has established. Now he's a linebacker. He's 6'3", 205. Not committed anywhere. He's a 4-star athlete. But he's visited some other SEC schools like Arkansas. He has a really good all-around game. He looks like a linebacker, Mick. But he also plays some safety, some wide receiver, some running back. He plays a little bit of it all. But he's visited Ohio State, Florida State, some of the majors like Alabama too. So, but like you say, 70 on campus Friday for the practice. We can't go through all of them. We just wanted to touch on a few, but it's exciting.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, we'll be getting feedback. I mean, obviously, as guys go back and they talk about what it was like to be there in Tuscaloosa, but it proves to me that Kalen DeBoer has this thing kind of licked. He understands how important the recruiting aspect of things are, and he has gone both feet in. He realizes that for him to have success to win in the SEC, he's going to have to win those recruiting battles, and he's done a good job. So a great list of talent in town, and they got to see these guys at work. And one of the things that they might have seen is Nick Sheridan, who's going to be the play caller for Alabama this year, and Jalen Milroe, who I still think is going to be the starting quarterback. Sheridan was asked about Milroe, and these coaches, I think, are blown away by the dedication and attention to detail that Milroe shows on a daily basis. Forget about game film and what we saw on TV. He's just one of these guys who refuses to get outworked, and he wins people over because of that. showing up at 3, 4 in the morning, getting there early, getting all of his work in, studying film, leading the team. He's taken the role of leader very seriously.
Yeah, Sheridan praised him. I mean, nothing but high praises after practice, and the media asked him if they were confident with Milroe, and he says, "I'm very confident." He says he's an extremely talented kid, but more than anything, he's a good person. Everybody knows the talent, his explosiveness as a passer, obviously, and as an electric runner as well. He says, "I feel lucky," So, and Sheridan, he knows the quarterback position because he played quarterback at
That's
Michigan.
Right. That's right.
So this is going to be an interesting quarterback race, but still, I say it's a race because it's really a race for number 2.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. I'll tell you what's not a race for number 2 is the battle for starting center. And what you're seeing is that obviously Brockermeyer finally getting to that point where, remember, when he was brought in, we knew that he was going to be a really good player. Him and his brother, remember, his brother transferred, right? Didn't his brother transferred back to Texas, and he stuck around. And then, you go out and you get Parker Brailsford from Washington, and you expect that, it'd be Brailsford's job. But the thing about Brailsford is he doesn't have to be a center. He could also play on the line.
Yeah, and the offensive line coach, Chris Kapilovic, he was talking about how he had high praise for Brockermeyer. They call it Brock, and had high praise for him because of his intelligence. He was talking about how he picked up the offense so quick, and he was impressed with that. And as far as Brailsford's concerned, he's already been in that offense because he's the transfer from Washington. But the qualities that they're looking for is a high football IQ, leadership, communication. That's a role. I mean, you're the quarterback of the line. Getting people at the right spot. Get one point that Coach mentioned was getting the ball to the quarterback.
Yeah.
And it's more of a mental position. So, and if you think back on it, we've had some really smart centers in our past.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what they're looking for, and that's going to be a great race to watch at center on the O-line, and that's going to be a battle. And I guess some really other news that came out today is Kendrick Law and the coaches were saying that 4-star freshman Caleb Odom, he's no longer a tight end. He's going to be a receiver.
Yeah.
Law was talking about he's the biggest receiver we have as far as height.
Right. He's a big target.
But he's a huge target, and he's a big target, and he's aggressive. And you know who he compared him to? George Pickens.
Wow.
So
very impressive.
That was some news that came out of camp today. But now Mick, the weekend is here, and nothing next week because it's spring break.
Yeah. Well, look, we'll be covering Alabama like we always do. One thing that I want to tell you guys, though, before we wrap it up is make sure that you check out Brett's show every morning, Monday through Friday on WJLX. Sometimes I pop on and I tell you all about the Karens at the airport that keep me from getting to my locations on time. Mm-hmm. Also, I'm on there. All I want to do is just talk up the next song that you're going to play. So, but no, you do a great job, man. Even out here in Arizona, I pop you on in the morning and listen, and I really do enjoy the morning show. I also want to tell you guys that this program is presented by Pearl River Resort over in Choctaw, Mississippi. Great concerts coming up. Music that you would hear on Brett's channel, some of the bands. But you got Kool and the Gang coming. You got the Wallflowers coming. You've got Lone Star coming. You've got Boys to Men coming. Brian McKnight. Help me out here. Big and Rich with Gretchen Wilson. So many great performers. But Pearl River also has Dancing Rabbit Golf Course. They've got the Timeout Sports Lounge, which is the, like Vegas-style sports book right there in Choctaw, Philadelphia, Mississippi, hour and a half from Tuscaloosa, 2 hours from Birmingham. It's like a getaway without having to fly and deal with Karen at the airport because you can drive over there. But they've also got Dancing Rabbit, the Augusta that you can play, and more. Find out for yourself. Brett, fun times, man. Let's do it again tomorrow, brother.
We'll do it.
All right, bro. That's it for us. Like, subscribe, and give us a roll tide, everybody. And we'll probably be updating the Friday, the recruiting visit, because there's going to be so much more to talk about. We'll have it for you right here on the Bama Tailgate YouTube channel. Roll Tide, guys.